Hey guys, Archie here, first year medical student. Today is going to be a little bit different since I'm not at home and I'm actually in Queensland recording this video. I'm going to be talking about how I'm able to get so much done without having to focus just on study solely and actually having all these other aspects within my life. A lot about what I'm talking about are the specific things that I did in year 12, but a lot of these things I actually still apply now, and so that's why they're still really important to me. I wouldn't say I'm as productive as I was to the exact minute that I was in year 12, but a lot of the things that I did back then are still really important in actually allowing me to get lots of things done in the time that I allocate to it, leaving more time to do other things that I like a little bit more. So basically how I prioritize the minutes that I spend in my life, I break it down into 4 categories. The first one is socialization and building relationships. The second one is creating experiences. The third one is like deliberate relaxation. And the fourth one is actually studying. Although I spent a lot of time studying in year 12, it wasn't actually the top thing of my priority list. In fact, it was actually the bottom of that list that I just said. That's because as much as studying is a really important thing for me to getting into medicine and having a good academic performance, that wasn't really the most important thing to me. The highest priority to me was building those relationships and keeping those up with the people that I enjoy spending time with. Is personally what just gives me the greatest fulfillment in my life, not just reading textbooks all the time. So then if I wasn't doing those 3 main things, then I'd just be left down to doing lots of study. And in the weekdays, that's actually quite a bit of time because I'm not actually able to organize a lot of these things to happen within the weekdays. And they mostly happen on the weekends, like having family dinners and meeting up with friends and all that sort of stuff. So in the weekdays, most of the time I was either having time to myself to relax or going to the gym or something like that. And if I wasn't doing that, then I'd be studying all the time. And in doing this, I still had a normal sleep schedule where I was still going to sleep at 9 o'clock and waking up early in the morning. There were only a few nights when I had so much on that I had to stay up later than 9 o'clock, or when I had the opportunity to see friends late at night on a weekend. For me, moving to that earlier sleep schedule was really important for me in year 12. I don't really stick to it too much now, but it was something that made sure that I was keeping track of every single minute that I was spending at then. Also, during the time that I was studying or working, which fits under that same area, I wasn't doing multitasking. And that brings me to a good point. Multitasking does not exist like we would like it to be. Let me explain. I used to do a lot of multitasking in the years before because I thought I could get actually a lot more done if I was doing lots of things at once. But in reality, I wasn't actually getting much anywhere with the things that I was doing. When you switch between these tasks so frequently and between so many tasks, you have that little bit of time where you are trying to recalibrate and refocus on the task that you're actually specifically looking at that time. And so the problem with that is that you're spending a lot of time readjusting. And that builds up over time pretty quickly. So instead of spending all of that time and energy and focus on one specific thing and getting it done, you are losing it when you're having to use it up for just readjustment. So then it's, with all this productivity stuff, it's not really that effective or time efficient. So what I had to get good at was just having the ability to have my focus on one thing in particular and get that done. This is actually really quite hard with all of these distractions that are around the place. So often I would have my phone and I would just chuck that across my bed and then I'd be able to focus on whatever I needed to. Because for me, the phone is just the biggest distraction of all the notifications, and I try to turn off a lot of my notifications, but there are some that I need to actually have for important business stuff and important emails as well. So in doing this, I was actually able to enter the flow state, which is something I've mentioned previously before, and that is just the most important and valuable thing that I've learned for productivity-wise in getting something done and allocating my focus towards it. When I get into the flow state, I just have that one focus, and that means I can just build up that momentum, just keep going until I finished it. Now, although it might seem that I'm actually doing less in not multitasking, it means the specific task that I am trying to do at the moment, I will finish it a lot quicker than I would have if I did it with multitasking. Then that just means I can move on to the next thing and do this exact same thing. And it means I also have another opportunity to have a little bit more breaks as well. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about is something that I learned a bit recently from Ali Abdaal, and I didn't realize that this was putting a name to the thing that I had already been doing. Basically, it's treating your personal life a little bit like a business. Now that sounds pretty bad because it's like breaking the whole thing about work-life balance, but it's not really exactly that. Now what this is really about is basically just scheduling. Now the way to get really good at scheduling is by having a calendar, and that's like the #1 thing that you can do to boost your productivity if you're just getting into this stuff. The reason for that is just the calendar allows you to block out some times where you know you need to be working or be able to do something else that you want to be doing at that time. In another previous video, I've spoken about how I'm not actually one of those people who can stick to like a minute by minute blocking out sections in a calendar, but rather I want to put the most important events there, like a family dinner, or I've got sports training, something like that. So I know that I need to build around it. Now this comes a little bit into how our brains should be used for problem solving and critical thinking, and not so much for just storing simple things. We can put it in something like a calendar. And it also means when I put these things into the calendar, I don't need to be worrying about it all the time because I can just go back to checking it. And so then I'm not worried about it, and I can get, less distractions when I'm trying to get into that flow state as well. So scheduling just allowed me to build around it. And when I was able to build around things, then I knew that I had this time before going to dinner, and then I'd have some time after it, or I would have to do some tutoring, and then there might be some time to work on my assignment after. It just kind of gets rid of the unpredictability of things, and sometimes you can't always do that with a calendar, but it actually adds a little bit more organization into your life anyway. So personally, I rely on the calendar quite a bit, and that's something that's been really useful that I've taken from what I did in working and bringing it into my personal life. So this is just essentially offloading stuff from your brain and putting it down onto a device or some sort of app of sorts. And in doing this, then I had those times where I could block out a time for just relaxation. And when I'm talking about relaxation, this is not procrastinating. This is actually going out and doing something that will help revive me and give me back the energy that I need to go back to work at another time. And that's what's worked for me for years and years. And I haven't felt super stressed about not knowing how I can fit lots of things at a time, because I always have something organized out there for me. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, guys, and bye-bye.